main fertilizer elements we talk about are nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. The phosphorus and potassium responses, according to the soil people that we talk to, are not very great. In other words, for some reason, over time, the phosphorus and potassium will hold up. This nitrogen is the main concern. And so they use the nitrogen form is called urea. Now, urea is a compound that's got two nitrogen molecules and some hydrogen, but when it's left out in air, some of it will evaporate and back to the air as ammonia. And so there's concern about it. On the other hand, if you put the fertilizer in as nitrate, it will be stable, but it ends up in the groundwater or somewhere and it's a pollutant. So when the fertilizer is sent, it should be a formula that is going to be most environmentally favorable. And there are some, but they're a little bit different options. And I'm not so sure that they're always the cheapest or lowest price in that sense. The organic fertilizers that they're making out of compost are okay. The problem, though, is when they're making them, there's a loss in the nitrogen. Once the fertilizer, or pardon me, the organic matter is in the soil, or the chemical fertilizers in the soil, it gets converted to the same elements in the soil. So it doesn't make a difference as to how it's applied, the difference between organic and inorganic. Once it's there, it's going to behave the same way. But there are additional formulas that would be better, I think. But nitrogen is the key one, particularly in grasses like corn and rice.
We'll try a new question here first. We've got Christina and Mrs. Clinton again.
Hi, I'm Chrissy. I'm a graduate student at George Washington University. And I was interested, I saw the picture where you were talking about the hillsides being impacted by famine, people's abuse of the land. And I was interested in the farms you visited, if you still saw the impact from the famine and how if you could expand on that and how that impacted.
Yeah, I think the impact is largely of the famine. Of course, the population is a little bit lower. I couldn't tell you what's happening there, but the impact is that the soil productivity on those areas is reduced. And sometimes what they're doing is they're allowing families to have a small piece of land up in the, not only around the yard, in the house, but also up in the hills, further away where it's more difficult for them to work. And the erosive area, because the family will have their small plot that and they won't allow erosion. They're very concerned about that. It's a whole different perspective. So, but you see, look at people in a broad sense who probably have a negative. But in a specific sense, if it's turned over to managers who will really use it in a more productive way, then it's a positive. But I don't think it's overall probably so negative.
Sorry, second question very quick. You said that the farms will receive cash from the government for their crops. If that is true, in your conversations, did you get a sense of where and how far these rural residents have to travel to go spend their money?
Back to the first question, whether they receive cash. I'm not real sure. I talked to some people on various times and all, and I said, are the farm workers paid? Let me start there. I don't know whether the farm receives cash as such. They may receive some sort of credits instead. All I have to defer to the economist for that. The farm worker receives about $2 a month, something like that. And now the evaluation of the one, I'm not really sure what it would be, but it's something like that. Well, that's not very much. Well, you don't need much. What do you need? Well, you need clothes. The government gives you clothes. You need shoes. The government gives you shoes. Well, you might need a haircut. You give the government a haircut. Well, what do they? Well, they find a present for a child for a birthday, or they may do something else where they can spend some money. But you don't see restaurants in the rural areas. You don't see things that are, we think about places that you can spend money. You don't see stores around. In Pyongyang, you may see a few that will be selling pots and pans or furniture, but not in the rural areas. I don't know what to do with that. And travel is very restricted. You can only move a certain distance from your farm even on a weekend or a trip in order to visit some relatives or something. It's quite restricted. And it's linked back to the coupon that you get for your food supply. If you're not in that spot, you need to. I wish maybe an economist would have a better answer on what form or how the government really gives the farm something back for the crop. I really don't know.
Maybe a silly question, but no restaurant type venues in the rural farm areas.
Not very many that I've seen. Now, some of the rural farm areas alongside the village, there may be a kind of a farmer's market where the women will go and take vegetables and when they come back again, and they probably trade it. I don't know if there'd be cash involved at all. And once in a while, we'll go through our small town, that's a county seat, and they will have some little markets out around. You'll see the women walking to that town and to that particular spot in the morning and coming back in the evening. And they've been selling something there to the residents in that. One thing I didn't point out is on this one slide, you saw a bunch of women out planting rice. That was in May, when I was over there in May. And when it comes to rice planting, they can't get it planted fast enough. It should be planted real rapidly. So all the offices in the small towns closed. All the workers go out to help plant rice. And in the morning, you'd be going out to the farm and you'll see them walking along, maybe 50 or 100 of them, 3 and 4 abreast, 25 or 30 long, carrying their equipment to plant rice, oftentimes singing. In the evening, they're going there. And they also help harvest in the fall.
Yes, question.
Gregory Davis, sir. Just to follow along to what you just said about the office workers going out to farm. Obviously, if they had machinery, it would be less labor intensive. Do you feel that having people who may be more inexperienced office workers, non-farmers, do you feel that is it a significant limiting factor, or do you think because they've been doing it possibly for all their life, every harvest, every spring planting season, do you feel they know how to do it, or do they need training? Is it limiting the yield?
I couldn't tell you exactly, although I can read the signs. And it looks to me like the farm crew out there are 1 or 2 of them. And what they've done is they will go through and that farm crew will plant 1 row across the field, and then it'll be several meters, and there'll be another row planted. And they're told that between that row and this row, you make a straight line and you plant 54 rice plants or something like that. They tell them how to pick them up and put them in and how far apart. I think they're coached during this time. But it is cultural. It's an expectation. If you eat, you've got to help grow the crop and harvest.
Do you have a question on that? Okay. Yes?
Okay.
Okay.
My name is Kim from Radio Creation, and you told us that some angels from Iraq, they're working in North Korea to provide technical support to agriculture sites. I'm wondering if they really thankful to those kind of help, and they really welcome the technical support from Western countries, especially including United States.
If I understood the question quite right, the acceptance of the technology is what you're raising, particularly from the U.S.?
I mean, Western countries, including US.
Western?
Countries, they welcome support, technical support from Western countries.
Right, you know, I think probably it is more difficult for the America, and particularly in the Western countries, than it would be for others. And that's because of some other things that are going on, as you well know. But nevertheless, they also recognize that there's a great deal of technology in the U.S. that they would like to have or understand. And so I'm not sure it's because of the need or why, but they will make some exceptions. On the other side, I feel very fortunate to be able to get there. There aren't very many of them that will come here. And the folks that I generally run into are non-U.S. people. When I'm over there or any other NGO. I suspect there is some concern. And I get questions a lot about when will the U.S. invade? Things are there. It's there. I didn't mention, but when I took the picture in front of the great leader and the dear leader, the building to the side where the special education hall, that on Saturday mornings, everybody goes to class and learns what the latest from Kim Jong-il.
Yes.
My name is Lee from South Korea. I'm a professor in computer science. I'd like to ask you about